All right, everybody. I've got another very special guest for y'all. Returning fairly recently, special guest, Mr. T.S. Luther. Go on, T.S.
How's it going? My name's TS and I write comics, and apparently I'm a returning guest, and this is awesome. I love to see it. I don't think I've ever been invited to a show twice. This is weird. Normally I
Oh,
burn the
people
bridge.
return. That means I'm doing something right.
Listen, I appreciate it. I think you're gonna lose half your fan base. They're like, oh, this guy again. I can't do it. He just keeps talking about the digger and I don't know, something called Tokyo Fire. I can't handle this guy.
Well, we just got off like a 20-minute conversation about comics, so let's have another hour-long conversation about comics. Um, so first guest of the year, so you get to set the standard for what we're gonna do.
I'm gonna set the bar so low. Like
What I'd like to start with, I mean, you're obviously a big comics fan. You read the monthlies. You're in the ditches with me. What coming up this year? Like, what are you excited about in 2026 for the world of comics that you know about?
I mean, Daredevil's the big one. I think if we had to pick something from like the big two, I'm really excited to jump back into Daredevil, see what Phillips is cooking up, and I'm excited to see the aftermath of Ultimate Universe over there. What else is coming up from Absolute? I'm a broken record. Everyone asks me, "What are you reading from the big two?" And I jump to Ultimate and Absolute because they're killing it over there. I'm also really excited to see. Again, I'm kind of boring in that way. What else is Fraction cooking up? Like, they're gonna bring him into an event at some point and make him the head of something, and I'm excited to see where they go with that, how big it gets. And I've loved the Batman run so far. So those are the big ones from the big two. But if we're talking Image, like Transformers, just pump it into my veins. Like, give me more of the Energon universe. I was so ready for that when they announced it, and I've only fallen further down the well. The only time that I've been a little bit let down was by the first G.I. Joe volume. It was good. I still enjoyed it, but it wasn't like the best thing I had ever read, which was everything else from Energon going forward. So I'm excited for all that. And get weird, like Mark Waid just launched a creator-owned book randomly on Kickstarter. Like there's some weird stuff happening. So I'm excited for the weird stuff. We were off Mike. We were talking about Distillery. We're talking about all these other new lines opening up. I'm excited to see the business get a little bit weird. Marvel and DC are working together again. Cats and dogs living together. Like I'm for the first time in a few years, I'm really hopeful for comics, and I don't feel like it's all about to collapse. We've hit a stabilization with Diamond leaving and Lunar kind of picking up the pieces, and Penguin, and these smaller companies like Mad Cave and Invader popping up new lines and getting new IP. So I'm excited in general for stuff, but I'm really excited to see how everyone's moving forward and finding a new equilibrium.
Yeah, it feels like we're kind of settling
Yeah.
into something here soon. I'm excited. You said the crossovers. So I'm excited that the crossovers are happening. I'm excited that we're getting more. And I want to know if my prediction is correct that at the end of this year, we're going to get the big, like at San Diego Comic-Con, they're going to announce the big, like, this is our generation's Avengers versus Justice League.
Oh, do you think you're gonna get like an act like Marvel versus DC, the book? Like,
It's either going to, so what I want, the dream is, I call it amalgam Marvel DC and what was it, Infinity Crisis. Like, just give me a big event book with these amalgam characters and bring them together.
it's got to be Secret Crisis, like Secret Wars, Infinity. Infinity Crisis. Yeah. You gotta mix the Secret Wars and the Infinity or the Crisis taglines or something like that. Crisis Secret. I don't know. Yeah, I'm a better writer than this, but not on the spot. But like, I agree. I hope that it's leading up to that, and I think it is. The pre-sales on Superman, Spider-Man alone, I think, will carry both of those companies into 2027.
Yeah, and just to see where it goes, because I don't think you can keep doing let's do Batman, Deadpool, Batman.
Yeah.
Like we got Superman, Spider-Man, we can't do Spider-Man, Superman. It was proven that like everybody got really excited for Deadpool, Batman, but then didn't really show up for Batman, Deadpool because confusion in the market.
And like
So
that's not necessarily a gigantic crossover audience in my opinion. I could be wrong, but I feel like the people who are buying Deadpool you know monthly are not always the same people buying Batman monthly. And so there are some of those crossovers that aren't just going to work on the name alone. I think Superman, Spider-Man, I think that there's a lot of people like me who are those are their two favorite characters, and there's a lot of people going, I don't read Superman, so I don't care. And so I think that it only carries it so far. And then there's the really niche ones where, like, you know, you have Dick Grayson and Laura Kinney. Like, that's rad. But is everybody buying that book? I don't know, you know?
I like that with this new one too. They decided to do Superman, Spider-Man, and then all the backup stories are in the Superman, Spider-Man realm.
Yeah.
Like they're not just like you said, Nightwing, Laura McKinney. Like cool, but what's that got to do with Batman and Deadpool? A better example of that is probably Daredevil, Green Arrow, which was like probably my favorite backup story out of all of them.
Yeah.
But what's that got to do with Batman, Deadpool?
Exactly.
I'm super excited of the idea because I'm a news nerd. I'm super excited about Daily Bugle versus Daily Planet.
Yeah,
like
it's
that,
so good, dude.
Give me that now.
And that's a thing that's happened often, and people have always gone, well, what would happen if these two interacted? And if you're, you know, a big comic nerd, you know that they kind of have in the past, but not to this level that they're going in for. So, like, I think that's going to be rad, and it's going to be probably my favorite book of the year. But will that do the sales that is needed for them to go, or are they going to go full Marvel and DC, which, like, your prediction is like, well, what would really do this well is if we did an event, because events sell and events need to happen on a quarterly basis, and what's going on for the summer, you know? And I think that's a slam dunk. I think that's what's going to happen. We'll see though, because Warner Bros. Being sold, I think that might cause some issues, but
Yeah, we'll see. It depends if the contract's already inked.
if it's already done, right? If it's already down the pipeline, which all of those companies, they're so far ahead. Like, maybe not with the books actually being written, but being contracted out, I think that a lot of this stuff is already in the pipeline.
And honestly, comics are such small game that I wonder if Netflix even cares.
Even cares?
Yeah.
I was so like my being a comic book writer and talking to in-laws, it's like, so where are you? We know you're a small fish, but how small? And it's like, I'm so tiny. And how much like mainstream people really understand the business of it all. They asked, or like, does this affect anything in comics? And I was like, well, definitely, but not nearly to the level that you think, because it's such a small part of Warner Bros.'s business, the comic books. Like, it's a small part of Disney's, you know, business. It's a great, you know, ground to pull IP from and pull story ideas, but when it comes to the ones and zeros and where the decimal point is, it doesn't make a blip. It really doesn't.
The biggest effect it's going to have is down the line when the contract with Dark Horse ends.
Right.
And like Stranger Things will be published by DC, and then you know, and probably Vertigo, whatever. But
you're going to see exactly what happened.
DC.
Exactly. It's just like when they bought Star Wars and they had to run out the Dark Horse line, or anything with their Alien or Predator stuff. Eventually, Marvel started publishing those. It's going to be exactly the same as that, and that's the closest you're going to see. You might see a little bit less playing ball, depending on how that all shakes out. But because Disney wasn't throwing their hat into the ring to buy Warner Bros., there's no bad blood there, it might work out great. I don't know. It probably depends on how well their past interactions went. Like, when they took all of the stuff from Netflix, you know, for Luke Cage and Daredevil and all of that stuff. Like, did those execs, did they go up? Or are they cool with each other now? Like, that's the kind of thing that's going to matter.
Yeah.
Like, how much the sales are, they don't.
Yeah, it's. I'll be curious though with that, because I've said for years, I just thought it would be a slam dunk to do a Harry Potter comic.
Until, like, I think that there's always so much backlash with it. If the new series makes a lot of money, then there will be a you know.
I'm not going to justify anything anyone like. I'm not going to justify anyone else's opinion, obviously. But we heard that about Hogwarts Legacy, the video game, and it was one of the best-selling games. Yeah, like. Yeah, it doesn't honestly, like, it's big news online, but I don't think it matters in terms of sales on the market.
The honest answer, like, I think that it's always going to factor in a little bit, because it's like, well, how much does that affect sales, right? So they're going to think about that. But I think the real answer is J.K. Rowling writes everything written for Harry Potter still.
Yeah.
Like, there's not book spin-offs written by other people. So I think that that's like, do the people at whatever company that it would be under, DC would be the one, want to work with J.K. Rowling? It's probably a bigger thing, and vice versa. So I think that that's probably why you haven't seen a Harry Potter.
Yeah, maybe she's too controlling of it, because I just think I would just go up to her and be like, "Here's a check. Can we make comics?" And I'll have this guy do it.
Like, I think that that's a lot of it, right? There's got to be a lot of control there, and when it comes to licensing, that's a expensive license. It might not be worth it because, and I don't know if your listeners know, but there's not a big margin when it comes to comic books, right? They don't make a ton of money off that. It's what comes afterwards, usually where the idea of investment comes from for these larger companies to produce a comic book. And Harry Potter's already big. There's not a lot of money to be had by putting out a Harry Potter comic. So if it costs so much money to get J.K. Rowling involved, or you're stressing out your staff because the staff doesn't want to work with them because of different politics, is it worth it to put all that money in for a comic book that doesn't result in a ton of money anyways? So I think that sometimes it comes down to, is that a headache worth having?
It's one of those things where, in the moment, the month to month, there's not a ton of money, but down the line,
But when it's in trade,
when you collect it and people can go buy them at the bookstore, that's when you make your money back, really. Especially with something like that. Like that'll be evergreen for kids.
But is it though? Because from what I understand, one of the rougher parts for Harry Potter stuff right now, the reason why the reboot came about was because it wasn't targeting children in the same way. The a new audience wasn't like renewed the way that nostalgia is. A lot of people weren't showing Harry Potter to their kids from my generation, and I think I'm a perfect example. My kids don't read Harry Potter, and they're huge readers, and they just were not interested, and I wasn't interested necessarily in showing them because I wasn't a gigantic Harry Potter fan in that way. So it didn't renew in my household, and my household is a pretty mainstream household with what nostalgia would sell to a kid. And it's like, they love Transformers. They're pumped about new Transformers stuff. They love Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. They're excited for that, cycle to go back around. But Harry Potter wasn't renewed here. And I've seen that time and time again. So maybe with the show, if the show sells well to a new audience, you'll get that DC proper, Harry Potter book.
Yeah.
But
I thought we would have gotten it back in the day, but
at some point,
yeah,
right?
I mean,
Like, 'cause they got everything, you got Harry Potter flavored jelly beans. They're not going to sell a comic.
Well, I mean, it doesn't have the cultural relevance that Harry Potter does. But like, I think back to when Marvel was publishing Ender's Game comics, and I was like, fuck yeah, that was the book. That was the book that somebody handed me, and I was like, oh, I like reading.
Right. And Harry Potter was that for so many people. It is surprising. But I think, again, it ebbs and flows. It depends on who's at the top. It depends on who's in the editorial bullpen of, do I care about pushing this to try to get this license? Because I think people forget sometimes, because you go to editors like, oh, well, they told me to kill off this character, and so they get a bad rap. It's their job to shape a lot of what comes out from those companies from a big view stance. And if you don't have somebody in that bullpen championing Harry Potter IP or IP period, you're not going to see that book, because a writer can come and go, hey, I really want to write this, but editorial will go, that's not in the cards for this year. Yeah. So it really depends on who you have at the top. So unless you come across a bunch of Harry Potter fans that are in editorial at DC and go, we have to make this happen, they're gonna put their money elsewhere.
I guess I gotta start a picket line now.
I think that you gotta go.
No, I don't want it that bad. I just thought I thought it would be a slam dunk.
That's it's more interesting from a business sense that they haven't done it, right? Let's ask that question rather than, because I know we talk about how interesting it is all day. I'm not reading that book. Like, I'm not gonna go buy it. I don't care about Harry Potter.
Yeah. I just know Potter fans are nuts, man. Like, I like Harry Potter, don't get me wrong. Like, I enjoy those movies. I'm planning on rereading the books here soon. But some of them are like, they make Star Wars fans look tame. And as somebody among that fan base, I can tell you that's saying a lot.
And it's really interesting because it's such a small window when you compare it to something like Star Wars, right? Like, the Harry Potter movies came out over a decade versus 3, and then a second set of them. It's like, Harry Potter, like, it's really off those original 7 books or 6 books. I don't remember. It was 7 books, 8 movies,
and then there's a the new book / play or whatever the fuck.
Oh, okay, yeah, sure. So, but it's like, it's a really small window with how big that audience is. But between different different views and some of the backlash from that, and just like them getting older, they don't have the same kind of spending power. A lot of them have families and didn't go and show Harry Potter to them, so that audience is dwindling. But again, if that new show does really well, you'll see Harry Potter everything.
But if I could tell you, what I think is the most underrated thing going into next year, going to this year, we're in this year now, news-wise, is Joshua Williamson doing Iron Man could be a huge thing for Marvel.
Yeah.
And seeing him, like, he's still going to be doing Legion. I mean, I don't see him jumping off Superman anytime soon. It's not like he's leaving DC. But him not being the guy really ushering DC forward anymore, I think it's going to be huge. Like, that dude is a superstar. And
I think it's going to be the thing that Iron Man needs, because Iron Man really for a long time was just riding the Robert Downey Jr. wave. Like, you like the movie, so you might go pick up Iron Man, but it wasn't being like this flagship title in the comic book space. And I think Williamson will do that. I mean, that's the reason why I picked up G.I. Joe, like he will drive that force. He changed the Flash forever, and he wasn't there for 7 years. So I think that you're right. But what are they doing? I haven't even read the solicit. I just saw the name. Like, I'm excited for it, but
we talked about it in the show a while back, but I forget at this point. I just know he's on the book. It's a book that can be Marvel's big title.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like you said, it is. I mean, dude, Fraction got in that book at the right time because nobody cared about Iron Man, and then that movie came out. And then his number one has Robert Downey Jr. on one of the variant covers.
Oh man,
like, and that book blew up. And yeah, I don't hear a lot of people talk about it as much anymore. Like, there's still fans,
because I feel like there's a lot of us that had this holdover of Iron Man, and this was never really the case if you like loved Avengers or something, but Avengers and Iron Man, a lot of those characters were kind of B-level characters when it came to sales, when it came to people's pull lists, and I think that carried over still even after the movies. It just created a mainstream appeal, so a lot of people jumped on when there was an Iron Man #1 and stuff. I still think there's still not as many diehard Iron Man fans as something like Spider-Man.
Can I tell you, in my younger days?
Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to think that we all had this moment in our lives where, like, you're a hardcore fan, like other fans of things piss you off a little bit. I'm a huge Captain America fan. Was like, I read the Brubaker run. I was so into it. I loved Civil War, and that Iron Man movie comes out, and I remember like, just me going like, Iron Man's the biggest thing. I'm like, I just read Civil War, dude. Like, Iron Man wants regulation because he got too drunk and drove his fucking.
He's the man.
Around.
Like, what are we doing here?
He's the villain of the story. And then everybody's wearing that stupid shirt of Iron Man holding his shield. Like, Iron Man beat up Cap. Cap gave himself up, guys. It still makes me mad. It made me so mad when I was younger when I saw people wearing that shirt, man.
it was, but like, I think that was such a genius move and it worked out so well. And I love that because I got made fun of for being a Captain America fan. People were like, who gives a crap about Captain America? And then the movies come out and Avengers is huge, and I'm like, vindication,
Yes.
Because I would talk about the Iron Man cartoon, and people were like, who watched the Iron Man cartoon? Like, there was other cartoons in the 90s from Marvel. I'm like, oh yeah, Iron Man and Fantastic Four. And they're like, who gives a shit? No one's watching that. What are you talking about?
We watched X-Men and Spider-Man. That's all we care about.
There was no other Marvel cartoons. There definitely wasn't a Hulk cartoon that went for 2 seasons. You don't know what you're talking about. And so, like, it was vindication, but there is a little bit of like, nah, you don't understand. I think I grew out of that. I got lucky that I was, I don't know, like 15 or something in 2008. So, like, I was able to grow out of it fast. But I had the same tinge of, like, you guys don't get it. Iron Man, really? Yeah. Although, the movie was rad, right? Like,
yeah. The movie was rad. Don't get me wrong. And I grew up in the Star Wars fan base, so I had shitty fan base. Luckily, Twitter wasn't around at that point.
Right.
Or if it was, I wasn't on it, because I probably had some bad takes going at George Lucas's way at that point, and I would feel really bad about today.
Oh man, like there are so many things like that where I'm like, I'm so glad I wasn't like chronically online at the time. I remember tweeting out something about the Hawkeye transition from Fraction's run. I forget who did the next run, but I love it. I really, really like the next story. but I said something about being disappointed that Fractions Run was done, and that was when I grew up in that moment. I'm like, that was the shittiest thing I could ever say, because that dude who does not care about this random, I was reviewing comics at the time, this random comic book reviewer talking crap about his book, but that would stink to see if I did see it. What if I wrote a comic book and someone said, "Oh, I just liked the other run before. I don't want to see that anymore," and I grew up and stopped tweeting stuff like that. But I'm sure there's a ton of old things that I would say just half-heartedly, be, tossing out BS on the internet.
Yeah, that sucks to say, but at the same time, we've all felt it. And even that writer has felt it in his life. So, I mean, yeah, I try not to. I think I say it in the show once in a while. It's like, it's unfortunate this one's ending, but like, let's see what the next guy's got. Let's see,
And
maybe
that's, again, like I said it, and I hadn't even read it yet. I mean, I had read like issue 1, and I love that run. Maybe there might be hyperbole. I would say on par with Fractions Run, which is one of my favorite comics from Marvel ever. But also I'm a Fraction, fanboy. But I did really, really like the next run, and I loved how it tied into Old Man Hawkeye, and I loved everything that they did with Kate Bishop in it. So, like, I ended up loving it. It was just me tossing out bad will. And as someone who writes comics now, I don't talk crap about any comic. If I don't like a comic book, I just don't talk about it.
Yeah.
Because it still was a lot of people involved putting their heart and soul into a book. It's like when you see a bad movie. Like, a bad movie still took everyone's, lifespan to come out, and it's lucky that it ever got created and was able to be on a screen in front of somebody. You deserve a little bit of respect for getting it done. And so, like, I just stopped, like, talking crap the same way. But, you dig it up, man. I might never work for Marvel because I was like, man, Fractions Run was peak. No one's ever going to do it as well. And I'm really sorry.
You know what the move is? It's not for me.
You're right.
It's not for me. Unless we're talking about the Snyderverse, because those fans, I just want to throw them in a ditch.
I will say, like, I liked Man of Steel okay, because I had enough Superman stories in my heart to where I'm like, he can kill Zod in this one, it's whatever. That's not my Superman necessarily, but there were still some cool scenes that was cool to see in live action for the first time. And then the rest of the movies, I'm like, I don't like these. These are not for me.
There's positive things throughout that, but like, for people to think that was anyway on par with what Marvel was doing or what DC is currently doing, I'm like, guys, you need like.
There's a little bit of delusion there, trying to say like, because you like Batman, you don't like Iron Man, so you got to say that it's better, and that's what, like, I love the new Superman movie, and I'm so glad we got it because I can feel good about watching a Superman movie again a little bit. Like, I don't have to make my wife sit through Man of Steel because I love Superman.
And he just got it. Hope.
Yes.
Superman needs to be hopeful. Like,
and it was fun. It was so much fun, and no one had to get murdered, and I didn't have to like I didn't have to think about Superman being Jesus for 2 hours and like watching Jimmy Olsen snipe people. Like, that's just like I didn't have to do that to watch a Superman movie, and that felt good. I liked that.
No, we just went on for 20 minutes. No, good. I love these conversations. But what we talked off air about it, I kind of want to talk to you about, and I'm hoping the fan base will like this. I have a lot of people from Kickstarter on here, and even when we do talk people in direct market, we're usually talking about the books and what they're doing, their careers and whatnot. And we'll definitely promote your book here at the end. So everybody, just go look up The Digger real quick. We'll talk about it at the end.
I'm contractually obligated to agree. Yes, go and do that.
But we talk a lot about Kickstarter stuff and indie stuff on the show. What I'd really like to get into is you've kind of went the other direction of a lot of the people that come on the show. And you're trying to make your name in the direct market more so than in that online crowdfunding space. So, I mean, give us a starter. Why go that direction as opposed to going the Kickstarter direction? Like, what kind of appealed to you doing it that way?
Well, I mean, I just, like, base level, I'm not good at the Kickstarter thing. What you have to do and the type of audience that you need to cultivate is awesome, and I love it, but I've had a hard time with it since my very first crowdfunding campaign on Tokyo Fire. I worked with Zoop on that one, which is a smaller market if you don't know. It's like Kickstarter, but just for comic books. I think they do board games now, but it was it was tough and it was a lot of work, and it was a different kind of work than the other stuff I was cultivating, learning how to write comics better and trying to work with publishers. My end goal was to never just make comic books. My end goal is to make comic books forever. I want to have a career like someone like Matt Fraction or Kelly Sue DeConnick, or put insert name here, that's done everything for all these other publishers, because that's what I grew up reading. I love those books. It's what I read now. And I love Kickstarter books. But Kickstarter is a way for you to survive and to make money and to do comic books in the indie space. And I think people don't understand how much work those Kickstarter people put into not making comic books, but making a good Kickstarter. It takes so much effort that isn't involved in making a book. A lot of them make awesome books too, but that's not where the majority of your time is spent when you have a successful Kickstarter. There are so many great books that never actually get done because the Kickstarter part wasn't good. And so, like, I look at someone like Travis Gibb. This is a great example because I've worked with Orange Cone Productions. I'm on a book. I think they have one going on right now, Holiday Spirits.
Holiday Spirits, the monsters.
Monster Special, yes. I wrote the Bigfoot book in that. If that's going on still.
Really?
Yeah, I wrote the Bigfoot story in that one.
Oh, dude, that's awesome.
Thank you, man. So like, go and buy that, because Travis Gibb is really nice, and Orange Cone Productions is awesome, and everyone on that book is cool, and I want to keep working on stuff like that, and anthologies are good. But I think people kind of sleep on how much work those guys put into getting that Kickstarter to be something that people are excited to go and pay for, because you're pre-ordering a book. It really is the simplicity there, but it's really hard to do, and it doesn't further you into mainstream comics. It doesn't endear you to a lot of those publishers. You have something to show people, and you're building up a little bit of an audience, but it's just such a separate market. A lot of people who buy comic books on Kickstarter don't buy comic books in a comic book store. And so the reason why I switched is because that's where I want to be. That's where I live. I love comic book stores. I want to work with bigger publishers like Marvel and DC and Boom and Dark Horse and Image and everybody in between. Mad Cave, get at me. I would love to work with you. And like someone like Invader, where they do Kickstarters, but it's more of a means to an end. It's more to like make sure that the audience is paying attention and to make sure they have enough money to print the book so it can get to the direct market. And that's where I want to be. I want to be the direct market. Simple answer is I want to go work for Marvel. So I try to work with publishers because they're not paying attention as much to the Kickstarter market.
So do you think as somebody coming up trying to get into the direct market, if you don't have to focus on the crowdfunding part of it all, you kind of get to focus more of your attention, obviously on making the comic, but on the audience building part of it?
Yeah, I think so, because I mean, you still can grow your audience, and it's still a good idea. If you've never put out a book, go kickstart one. Like, go get on a crowdfunder, go get on one of those anthologies. Again, go work with Orange Cone Productions. They're awesome, and they put out really good Kickstarters that get people excited. But so much of what you're doing is getting them excited to buy the thing, instead of excited about you, instead of excited about the stuff that you're writing. And it's a two different like worlds. It's a whole different equation, and it's much harder to do, in my opinion. I can write a much better comic book than I ever could making a Kickstarter, and you don't grow them in the same way. And you might get people that are excited to come back and check out your Kickstarter, but they're just excited to spend money. They're not excited necessarily about the story and who you are and where you're going with your career. And I think sometimes it's more of a means to an end than it is a chance to grow past it. So I think if you start with something like a Kickstarter, that's great, and you keep going. I think if you want to have that longevity, you want to eventually transition, because those fans that you make at a larger publisher carry over forever, versus something like Kickstarter where you kind of get pigeonholed into just being a Kickstarter creator sometimes. And that's no fault to the people on Kickstarter. It's not any fault to the audience. It just seems to be what happens. Both are created equal, in my opinion. There's some amazing Kickstarter books that I wish I could buy on the shelf to get more people interested. But I think that you just can spend so much more time focusing on your craft and building your audience if you don't have to convince them to go to whatever new crowdfunding site there is and drop $70 on your book because you need enough to make the next one. You can get a publisher involved. A lot of that work is done, at least with you. I wouldn't say for you, because you still work with those publishers, but you can focus a little bit.
And what do you do to build that audience? Like, I feel like with Kickstarter, it's pretty, I mean, not simple, but
no, but it's
simplistic in nature, where like do the Kickstarter, fulfill it, like keep going, just do. Where direct market, it's, I mean, yeah, you have people like Invader who are willing to take chances on, no offense, no name creators.
I'm taken. That's totally that's accurate. You know,
but even them, like, it's not like Invaders has a name that's. I don't mean to offend anybody, but it's not like they have a name.
Invader
that's
is
like
not
an image.
Image Comics. Yes,
yeah,
exactly. And they're the first ones to tell you that.
Yeah, so what is somebody that wants to get in that, like, what do you do to build that name up outside of just making the great comics?
I mean, the thing is, try to be everywhere. Like, you got to make a great comic, but that's step one. Whether you want to be on Kickstarter, you want to be in a comic book shop, you have to pitch everywhere you can. And that's why I never disparage Kickstarter books. It's not like they're bad or anything like that. Get a book anywhere that you can. If that means getting to do one on Kickstarter, go and do that. Just be careful that you don't only do that. So, like, what I did was I'm putting out all the books I could on Kickstarter, get some sort of an audience. See what kind of audience you can drive somewhere else, though. See where you can take them. If they're willing to buy your Kickstarter book, how big of a fan are they? Are they willing to go check out this webtoon? Are they willing to go check this out? Can you carry that audience over to something like TikTok or Facebook or whatever social media that you like? Did they follow you? If you can do that, if you can show that you have an audience that's interested in you and what you're writing, not just in that one product, then you can pitch yourself to a publisher, a smaller one, but that's how you do it. You endear yourself to little publishers, and eventually bigger publishers will pay attention. I can't speak to any higher level because that's where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
But I can tell you, putting out several successful Kickstarters and then working with lots of other indie creators who are like, hey, TS is a good guy. He wrote this story for me. I liked it. My fans bought it. Endearing yourself to as many people as possible on as many platforms as possible instead of just focusing on one avenue will get a smaller publisher like Invader interested, because I already have a built-in audience, and if you're bringing an awesome book, they're like, yeah, why wouldn't we sell this book? And it's not like Boom is returning my calls, but people are opening my emails now because I've now shown that I can do well enough in all these different markets. So, like, that's the best thing I can say, is just try to get yourself everywhere. Don't focus too much on just one outlet.
And this might be too nerdy for most people, but financially, I think Kickstarter makes sense. Like, go in there, get funded. That pays for because you got to pay for the artist, you got to pay for the anchor, you got to pay for everything. And that makes sense. This is the money I need to pay these people to do the next book. But in the direct market, you're probably sitting on, Invader's not paying for those things, correct? Okay. So you're sitting on that cost for much longer because you're waiting on the back end after Invader prints and Invader gets their cut, and then hopefully you sold enough where you get something out of it.
Right. And here's the thing. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I probably won't see a dime of money from the Digger. That's not how it works. Invader doesn't but it sold well enough that Invader is happy with it. Invader is happy with the sales pre-orders for issue 1. The amount that is sold is probably going to be sell-through too. It's probably not going to be returned, which is another reason why it takes a long time to get paid from a publisher. A lot of people don't know the way that it works in comic books is very different than publishing anything else, because the deal that was struck a long, long time ago, and still is the way in a lot of distribution, is if a comic book shop buys a crap ton of a book and it doesn't sell, they can return it. And that's just the deal that's there. And that publisher has to then give that money back. So it takes a long time to get paid by a publisher in comics, because that's not their money yet, for sure. They might have to give it back, so they can't just pay you out front, because they're not getting paid either. So it's going to take a long time for any money to be generated. I'm a small creator. Sam's a small creator. Invader's a smaller publisher. We're really, really happy with the sales because we're all nobodies, and somebody listened. I was getting calls from comic book shops going, who are you? And I go, why? And they're like, because we had 25 people coming to pre-order your book, and we've never heard of you or Invader, or what's going on? And we're getting pre-orders from all these shops, so we sold well enough to keep going. That's the only thing we were trying to do. We weren't trying to make money. Invader, I love working with them. They're a bunch of dudes who just like writing comic books and drawing comic books too, and just want to make comics. So they're not worried about the bottom line too much either. As long as it makes enough to print the book and we can ship it out, that's golden. So you do have to be willing to get the XP rather than the cash, because there's not a lot here. but it is worth it. If you want to work in comics, if you want to work in mainstream comics, if you don't want to just stay in the Kickstarter arena, again, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you want to work with other publishers, you have to work with publishers. It's just like if you want to get jobs making comic books, you got to make comic books. So was it a lot of money involved? Yes. Will I recoup that? Probably not on this one. But it's led to other jobs. It's led to other publishers being interested in me and Sam, and we'll probably get other gigs from it that will pay. So it's worth it in that sense. And the way that you get more jobs for anything as a writer is you make money for that company. You make money for that outlet. And comic book shops are going to make money off my book, and I can show them that I can sell, and Invader's going to make some money off my book, and that's going to endear them to want to work with me again. So when another publisher goes, hey, how's T.S. Luther selling? They can say, he made us money. And at the end of the day, that's how you work with more publishers, is if you can prove that you can make them money.
So we've gotten build your audience, make a great book, get in with one of these publishers, and grind to get it selling, and hope that the call comes. Basically,
yeah.
And
I mean, it's a lot. It
sounds like you're gonna tell me that the call came, and so who you working with?
And listen, if a call came, I wouldn't tell you. I would have told you off air. But here's so I joke, but the thing that I've been telling my wife is like, if the Digger, it's only 4 issues because that's the amount that someone would let me make, right? If the Digger wins an award, like if I get nominated for a Ringo or something next year, then you'll see me. You'll see me writing something. I'll get to write a backup for Dog Welder in some annual at DC. Stiltman for Marvel. I have a really good Gold Balls pitch. Marvel, give me a call. Let me do a 4-issue Gold Balls story.
Hold on. Marvel, I need a Stiltman book. Like, you don't have to hire Tia. I just need a Stiltman.
Oh, that's totally fair. Totally fair. I get it. But that's what's gonna happen. You're gonna see me everywhere. If it doesn't, then you might see me write another Invader book when they get through their pantheon of people, because they have so much talent over there that they've been sourcing from like indie places too. But that's really the end all be all. That's what you want, though. You want to be in the position that I'm in. We joke, and I'm a nobody, and no one's ever heard of me. When it comes to success in indie comics, I'm killing it. Like, this is the best you can be without being one of those really successful Kickstarters. Like, you look at Orange Cone Productions, some of their books have done like 50K, like Cthulhu Invades Neverland, one of the best-selling indie comics that you're ever gonna see done, and no one there had like done a ton of work for Marvel or DC. It wasn't like the biggest, pantheon of people ever. It was just a really good indie book that they put their heart and soul into and built a really cool Kickstarter. So in the two spectrums of it, like, I might not make a lot of money, but I'm getting publisher work. I get paid to do more indie stuff. People are knowing who I am at an outlet level, at a brick and mortar level. So as much as I'm still a nobody, I'm way further than I ever thought I would be, and most people in the indie comic space get to be. I get invited on podcasts sometimes when I beg them off mic, go, Chris, please let me on in the new year. I haven't talked to somebody on a mic in a while. I am way further than a lot of people get the chance to be. So I think I'm doing all right. We just got to make sure I don't go broke before I get to put out the next one. But if the Digger sells well, you never know. You might see the Digger 2, and the Digger goes to space, etc.
Frankendigger.
Oh, listen, Frankendigger will sell, gangbusters. We'll make a plushie. Like a little zombie Digger.
If Marvel cared about money, they would have kept Frank Castle a Frankenstein monster. I mean, that's...
Oh man, that was so good. I need another not creature commandos. Not wrong. But I need another. Captain America is a werewolf. Frank Castle is Frankenstein.
Oh yeah.
I forget the name.
That one. There's that book I think it was Monsters Unleashed that nobody talks about, but it was so much fun.
Yes, exactly, dude. Howling Commandos is probably what they would put it under, right?
Yes, I think it was Howling Commandos was the one with Frankencastle and Cap.
Okay, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, they would love that. But again, it's if you can prove that you're going to make money for people at the end of the day, that's all that matters. If you make a $50,000 Kickstarter and it does super well, and you want to share that money with people, because that's the thing that people don't talk about, is if you go work for the publisher, you have to share all that money, and you're starting over. Essentially, like, a lot of that audience does not transition. It just shows proof of concept. And so if you want to go right for Marvel, you want to go work with someone like Invader and Mad Cave and work your way up those rungs. And if you don't, if you just want to make enough money to make another comic book, stay in that Kickstarter arena, because you will eventually start making more money if you're making a good book. I think that that's a big if that people forget. I get asked a lot, like, well, how do you make money on Kickstarter? How do you go work with a publisher? And they forget you got to get good at making a cool comic. And it's subjective. There's going to be a ton of people that hate my book and a ton of people that love it, and never the twain shall meet, and I can't convince you who's right.
Yeah, they're both right is what the answer is.
Right, because art is subjective, and everyone's
Yeah.
favorite book is somebody else's least favorite book, and they're both correct.
Yes. You might be the wrong person to ask this, but
How dare you?
I am curious. With Diamond going away, and I think one of the things, I'm not a fan of the monopoly that Diamond was, but
Nor should you be.
the one great thing they did was the previews catalog, where I could sit down and I could look through and I could see all those little small publishers, your Invaders, your Scout Comics back in the day, all these publishers, and look through and see their books on there. Now, you had to take time to do that. I'm a hardcore
Right,
comics nerd.
we
so
were
I
the
was
ones who
doing
were
that.
asking for it. Can someone hand me the catalog?
Yeah, so, and my retailer was smart enough back in the day to be like, this catalog costs X amount of dollars. You're going to buy something out of it? Here it is for free. Because he knew he was going to make money off me either way.
Exactly.
But we don't have that anymore. It's gone for the most part. You get the little catalogs. I still get a few. But like, it's Marvel, it's DC, it's IDW, it's Dynamite. I think Image has one too. You don't have the overall one that includes. So what are companies like Invader doing with that? Like, I know there's a online catalog, but is it more just they have to get boots in the ground and really push?
I mean, it definitely is that. It's more that than it has been in a really, really long time. Even back in the day with Diamond, you still had to fight tooth and nail because, yeah, sure, you're in the Diamond catalog, but most people aren't you, Chris. Most people are not scrolling through every single one to find this little gem. So it was kind of worse off for some of these smaller publishers. You were in the big catalog, but most of the stores don't have the time to sift through every single new solicit in there, so you weren't getting that kind of time. Because it's now diversified and you have smaller new distribution like Filbo. Filbo is a great example of this tiny little distribution company that's putting out their own catalog, and shops are checking it out. You have something like Lunar, who has filled in the biggest gap, I would say. Lunar and Penguin, and they have their own catalog. I don't know if they have a physical edition, but they have their online one, and stores do flip through that. They do go, okay, who's on there? And because it's a smaller, more curated list, Invader has been noticed way more than they ever were in the Diamond catalog, even though more stores had it. It was just one source. They sold way better with, and maybe that's because I'm awesome. I doubt it. But being in the Lunar catalog and only being in the Massive section, because we're sub-distributed by Massive Indies. So Massive has a section that they're given by Lunar, because they're a little bit of a larger publisher, and that's who you want to get in as an indie publisher with Lunar, because Lunar doesn't have time to mess around. They kind of pimp that out to Massive. So you go and make a deal with Massive, you're in the Massive Indies section of the Lunar catalog, and that's where Invader lives. And they've done very, very well over there. And a lot of smaller publishers have by partnering with that. And so I think it's a good job. I think it does a good... it does a service for them to be in a little bit more of a curated space, a little bit more real estate than you got with Diamond, even though it was everywhere. And there's other little distribution companies that I can't even think of. I think there's one like Viking Press that shops are starting to pick up from. So it's a little bit more divided, it's less consolidated, but it's not a monopoly. And it's affording a little bit more real estate to people. It does mean you have to do more boots on the ground, more grassroots campaigning. A lot of the reason why The Digger sold is because me and Invader and a lot of awesome friends and great podcasts like this one talked about it, right? But it was easy to find for these shops. We're in a legitimate catalog being in Lunar, because I think Diamond is a little bit guilty of putting anybody who had the cash in the book. Perfect example, I'll use myself. I don't want to disparage anybody else, but when I was self-publishing a book called Hellion and Bash, I was able to start getting into the Diamond catalog. It fell apart right as I was doing it, but they were like, "Yeah, you have the money. It's fine. Here's your thing. You're going to be in this catalog when it gets going." So a lot of these other catalogs feel a little bit more curated. They feel a little bit more deliberate with who's in it, and I think it shows just a little bit more of a legitimacy when it comes to these books. So I think it's good for the business. It just means you have to do more groundwork.
Interesting. Yeah, I've noticed too, because I always thought Diamond was getting, and this is what happens with Monopoly. Diamond was getting too comfortable, and they were, yeah, the discounts were good, and I think even the comic shops are getting comfortable with it. Because I remember when it first happened, hearing, especially locally, a bunch of the shops around here were like, "Oh, what about, now my discounts are gone and blah blah blah," and it's like, and they didn't want to order from 2, 3 catalogs.
Some people didn't even know how to. They
Well,
were like, I don't know how to order from anybody else other than Diamond.
and the guy who owns the shop I go to, he was working for Wegmans and all these like, and then these smaller companies that were doing like convenience store stuff and everything. So he knew like no business has one vendor. You have like 80 vendors you have to deal with, and you have to make them all happy to want to come to your store. So he was like, "Oh yeah, like I went from 1 to 4. Okay." But I just think that Lunar now, because I'm noticing the return of the cardboard standees and like the little things in the store where they can put like DC, for instance, has the DC Compact now, and they've got the little standee where you can put them in and put them right next to your cash register, so it's an easy sell right by the register. Things like that I think Lunar is really pushing because they aren't comfortable, and
Right.
they do need to push it a little bit more because
Competition will always result in a better experience for the consumer. Even if it at first is a little bit more difficult. I think about when Epic launched their store a few years ago to get video gaming on you, but people were like, "But I buy all my games on Steam." Well, it's still like it's anti-consumer to make me go to another tab. I'm not doing it. I'm not downloading another
there,
thing.
there's nothing more bitchy than a PC gamer who has to open another window.
I'm
Go
not
on.
doing it. How dare you? But exactly. But like trying to explain to them like it's gonna be better for everybody because they aren't comfortable and they're gonna have to do other things, and you get better splits for consumers at the brick and mortar level. These people buying stuff to have in the shops. So you're gonna get some shops who are focused on Looter and some shops that are focused on Penguin and some shops where like something smaller like Filbo Distribution is selling really well. Like it's going to make it more interesting. It's going to make it more consumer friendly in the long run. And you don't want a monopoly because a monopoly will lead to things. As much as Diamond had a lot of stuff going for it, they had stuff that wasn't going well. They were getting a lot of late deliveries. They were getting a lot of smash deliveries. But because that store had nowhere else to go, there was no alternative. They had no bargaining power. They couldn't fix any of those problems. And you now have options for publishers at all different levels to go somewhere else, and it's going to make a better experience for us. And also eventually some of the things that still stink right now will work themselves out. Like I think a little known thing that people aren't paying attention to is you've probably seen it. You've probably walked into your comic book shop where you bought your comics and you'd buy a McFarlane toy while you were there or something, and you can't do that at a lot of shops now because Diamond also distributed their toys and a lot of the little knickknacks and stuff that a lot of these stores made their margins off of. Like comic books don't make a ton of money for a comic book shop, and that's why you see them sell other things too. And I think we're going to see that worked out this year specifically. I know a lot of toy companies are working on getting distribution through like board game providers and distribution at that level. So
Yeah, I think Alliance is the distributor that's taking over a lot of that right now.
yep, exactly. And there you go. And so like it's working itself out to where shops are going to be doing better, and they're probably going to have maybe not that same level of like discount, but they're going to have better shipments. They're going to be on time more. They're going to have a different revenue stream opening back up, so they're not going to be hurting as much. Because that sucks to say, and I don't want to poo-poo it. As much as I'm happy that Diamond's monopoly doesn't have that stranglehold, it hurt for a lot of shops, and a lot of shops went under because it was just too much change that they couldn't weather the storm through, and that stinks, and I'm not happy about that. And those are shops that probably will never come back either. So like I won't try to say like, oh, this is great for everybody, because it's not. But I think in the long run it will work out for the industry a little.
Do you think, because we saw kind of a lot of these smaller publishers, and Happy the Invader was not one of them, but that
They were almost
fell to the wayside.
Yeah.
Because there was too much. There was too many publishers doing too much at a time. And don't get me wrong, Marvel and DC are also to blame because they want to just stranglehold the market. But
what if we put out 60 titles every month?
what if we bring Vertigo back and we have 12 titles coming out?
And I'm part
I'm
of the
happy
problem
for
because
it.
I pulled all of them.
I'm happy for it, but at the same time, like, DC, calm down. Like, calm down,
leave
bro.
some for the rest of us, man.
But now that I think we've seen the settle, and we saw a few names that were around for a while have, I'm hoping to talk to the guys over at SourcePoint here soon.
Yeah.
And like what their changes are. Do you think things have gotten to a point where we have settled and we kind of know the market now and we can depend on these publishers to be around for a little while? I mean, nothing's guaranteed, but
No, but I think so. I think that we've reached an equilibrium. Like, again, I can't speak for Invader. I don't know their ins and outs. I don't work for them in that way. They just publish my book.
Yeah.
But I know that people at the level of Invader, they were having a hard time, and we're thinking maybe we can't. Maybe we do have to go under because Diamond's gone. Because who else can we get distribution through and still carry all these books that are already in print or getting ready to go to shops? Like, it was a bad time, and a lot of that has worked itself out. Whether they did go under or found new distribution, that's all established now. I don't know a lot of people who are still floundering trying to find distribution that were ready to go at this moment. So I think a lot of that has worked itself out. Lunar's business with Massive is a great example because that's where I'm through, so I can speak to that. That's a well-oiled machine at this point now. You know who to talk to if you want to try to get in there. Massive has their criteria, and Lunar has theirs, and these new publishers have done a few books through there, so it's working itself out. Shops are used to ordering from other places now. They're getting their new distribution, and audiences are seeing familiar names again, and they're seeing the stuff in the shops that we're like, oh, there used to be this indie company that I liked, and that's not there anymore. That's all worked itself out. The economy is still rough, so that's a different thing that you can't really speak to. But on the point of comics, I think that we're coming out of the storm. And I think people are going to be alive and able to buy comics in 2026, which is all you need. This is a dying industry that's been dying since I started reading comics and has always been dying.
Yeah.
And so, like, I think that we're through the weeds, and I think we're through the weeds to the point where people aren't afraid of all of these comic books going under anymore. So I think we're going to be okay.
Yeah, I don't see anything. I don't see it ever going away at this point. Like, people keep talking about it, but I just think you'll see transformations of the industry.
Yeah, and we just went through a huge one, and we're going to continue to see it, and it's not done transforming, but it's in a more of a stable state. Like, talking to shops now, this was the first time in a long time that I've been talking to shops, and they're excited. And they're like, yep, we know exactly what's going to be making money for us this year, and we're not thinking about closing our doors this month because we're unsure. And it had been touch and go since COVID ended. Because I think a lot of people forget that, like, COVID did really well for comics. In a really weird way, like, comic books were selling very, very well. As much as you had to close up a lot of brick and mortar shops, comic books were up. And we've been on a downward trend for a while, and we're starting to go back up right now. And I think that that's going to continue into 2026. And plus, now you got T.S. Luthor on the stands. And, like, that's going to do well for every single shop that's ever ordered a copy of The Digger. You're welcome.
I was reading a thing recently that there's no way really to prove it because you'd have to go back and see people's purchasing histories. But
Sure.
The Dogman generation is now old enough to buy. And there's a lot of anecdotal evidence that they're going in and, thank you, Absolute Comics, for this, that Absolute Batman, Absolute Wonder Woman, Absolute Superman, they came in and were like, oh, let's check this out. And now they're buying comics.
Yeah.
So we have the younger generation now. We have what they were going for.
I mean, single-handedly, Captain Underpants, Dogman, Babysitter's Club, those books that bring in young readers make them endeared to comic books. And the cool thing about it is they started with an independent title. So while they are coming in and buying Ultimate Spider-Man and Absolute Batman, they're also buying stuff from Image. They're buying stuff from Boom because they weren't inherently fed. The only comic books you can buy are Archie, Spider-Man, and Batman. And so they go in going, I look at everything.
And it's going to take them time to learn who they like and what they like. Like, they're buying Absolute Batman right now, but it didn't take me long to get into indie comics, I'll tell you that. But
we had
4 or 5 years from now,
second wave Image, though, when we were kids. It was like the perfect time as Kirkman's, putting out Invincible to go, oh, what's that?
Yeah, yeah. And zombies were on the upswing, and he's like, I have this Walking Dead thing, and I'm like, oh, look at that.
It's weird. It's black and white. I like it.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. I'm fine. Like, fuck, I'll take anything zombie at this point. I watched.
Exactly.
Have you ever seen the movie Fido?
Yeah, I love Fido. That's a good one, dude. No one talks
Fido,
about that one.
Fido is one of my favorite movies of all time, so no slander on Fido. But that was a point where literally, if it had a zombie in it, I was watching it, and I'm thankful
yeah,
I
dude.
did because I found one of my favorite movies of all time because of that.
That's not like I haven't heard someone mention that in 20 years. But
That movie's so good. Everybody, go watch Fido.
it's such a good one. If you like zombie movies, especially, like you don't have to because it's got way more heart than that. But like if you like zombie movies, that one is doing something different.
And we're in a time right now where Fallout, the TV show, is like one of the biggest things on TV right now. If you like the feel of Fallout, you'll love Fido. You'll love it.
This is now a Fido podcast.
My cat is going nuts.
but like I do love that. Like my kids are a perfect example of that. They're a little bit younger. Like they got into Dogman a little bit later, but like my oldest is 10. And she's like, let's go to the comic book shop. Let's go check out stuff. And she grew up on manga and Babysitter's Club. And she's like, yeah, let's check out what else can I read? What else is good? And she doesn't go towards Marvel or DC. She goes and checks out what's coming from Boom. She really likes all those little independent ones. Yeah. And if it's a graphic novel, even better because that's what she grew up on. And my son loves anything Fantastic Four, but he's willing to check out different things. He saw me reading Massive the other day. I was reading one of the Massive Verse books, Radiant Black or Rogue Sun or something, and he was like, tell me about it. What is it? And I'm pitching him on these books the same way that I would pitch him whatever new, Spider-Man book is, and he's not tuning out because it's not Marvel or DC. He's into it. I talk to people all the time. They don't read stuff from Marvel or DC, but they're big comic book readers. And that hasn't been the case in a really, really long time. So I think that we're in the best spot we could be. At least I am, as someone who's trying to break into the mainstream of like, hope, like, do you think they're going to give this chance to this knockoff Indiana Jones book? And people are. Like, the fact that I can get a book made, I think, says a lot for the hope in the industry. Because who the hell's heard of T.S. Luther? No one. No one's heard of Invader Comics. And we sold well enough to where I get to make 3 more issues. And I don't think that would have been the case 2 years ago.
Well, that's kind of a great segue to kind of lead us to our final 10, 15 minutes here. Let's talk a little bit about, I mean, we talked a lot about it in the last interview, but I'm sure there's new people out there. People didn't listen to that. Get the pitch on The Digger. I mean, it's going to be in shops on the 14th.
Yep. It's going to be in shops on the 14th. Issue 1, there's 4 issues. So, what if Indiana Jones Hunted Short Round is how I pitched it to the artist. It's how I pitched it to Invader Comics. And it's a 4-issue miniseries thriller about a young boy in Veracruz, Mexico in the 1930s. His grandma's sick, and his dad used to be a guide to these Olmec ruins. And an American rolls into town who might be dangerous, might be a little bit edgy. No one wants to guide him there, so the kid offers to do it. And the kid doesn't understand how much danger he's in because this American, called simply the Digger, is a dangerous guy who doesn't share. And now they're on this trek, Indiana Jones style, Indiana Jones in the Short Round, trekking across Veracruz, Mexico, and they're getting into all sorts of shenanigans, and he doesn't know that he's with this dangerous murderer the entire time. And again, you don't have to worry about 56 issues because no one will give me that many. It's 4 issues, and then it's going to be a trade, and it's a really good time. The artwork is done by Sam Gudelin, my co-creator, on the book, and his artwork is unlike anything that you've seen before. If I had to find some sort of linear comparison, maybe Gendy Tartakovsky or those old Addams Family, comic book strips, it's so unique and so kinetic. And if you like someone like Jorge Corona, who has a lot of splatter on the page, or you like those old pulp adventure books that had heroes like Indiana Jones, you're gonna like The Digger. So that's my big pitch for it. I know it doesn't sound like it. I swear I'm a good writer. They wouldn't have paid me to do this otherwise. Invader Comics was like, wow, we didn't expect this book to be so good, and that's how I got it made. And so if you want to be surprised by how good the book actually is, go pick up The Digger.
And just as a reminder, everybody, I mean, this is a standard 22-page comic.
It's closer to 28 pages.
Okay, but it's not one of these oversized things that Black Label's doing or Distillery.
No. It's The thing that I go for when I do my indie books is I want you to not notice that it's an indie book. I want this to be like you picked it up and you're like, wow, did Image put out this book? No, it's this other publisher. And Invader is really good about that. They, pretty hands off, let us make the book that we wanted to make. I think the first 3 issues are 28 pages, and issue 4 is 36, I think, somewhere around there. But still pretty close to standard. It's not oversized. It's not Black Label format. It's the standard comic book size, so it'll fit in all your sleeves. You're going to want to buy 5 copies because it's gorgeous, and because I'm going to be famous next year, so you can say you did it before I got to write I don't know, the Pedestrian 2 or whatever the hell they'll hire me to do. So go check out The Digger.
Yeah, and you can email him at no, I'm just kidding.
You can email me. Go ahead. comics@can'tbekilledcreations.com. Send me an email. I'll probably ignore it. Unless you're going to pitch me another Power Rangers book. I get pitched a lot of Power Rangers books like I own the rights to it, and I do not. And I don't know why. It's the strangest thing. At least one a day, somebody pitches me a new Power Rangers book, and I'm like,
there must be a T.S. Luther over at Boom.
There must be somebody that they think that they're talking to, but it's not me. But you can find me on TikTok at TS Luther. I'm on all the social media as that. I have a website called can'tbekilledcreations.com. It's got my entire portfolio. I write comic books like Bigfoot over at Orange Cone Productions. I'm in their Holiday Spirits Monster Special that's on Kickstarter right now. You can check me out there. You can find me on Invader's website, invader.com, and check out all the comic books I'm writing there. It's all The Digger. I write for a smaller publisher called Professional Entropy. They do a book series called Hellion and Bash, which is basically what if Catwoman absconded with Robin and they go on the run from the superhero community because Batman's an asshole. And I write a book called Tokyo Fire that's doing out a whole volume in 2026. Volume 1 comes out from Professional Entropy. Distribution pending. So, like, I write lots of stuff. I'm just really in the indie space, but you can go find me in all those places and say hi if you see me over there. But the big one is please go and check out The Digger. It would be really helpful. I'll be able to go and write that Gold Ball series if enough people go and buy The Digger. And if you don't, my kids don't get to eat, and that's on you. I want you to feel that in your heart and soul. If you don't buy The Digger, my kids, they're going to wither away.
You should just feel bad about yourself.
You should. Like, what are you doing? Like, look at how good that artwork is.
And
I say is they don't know.
If I'm remembering correctly from our last interview, all the book is done, so it's not going to miss a month.
Nope.
It's going to be consistent.
No delay. Like at least not on the side of the book getting done. Sometimes there's printing delays. That stuff that can't be helped. I don't want to be contractually liable because I said there's no delay ever possible. But the book is complete. I just turned in the issue 4 script. I don't know, a couple of weeks ago, because we did some updates and stuff, but the book is ready to go. Issue 3 is going to print soon, so, it's all completed. We did it all ahead of time. That's the power of working at indie comics and paying for it all yourself, is if you can afford to, get it all done and push it out there. People don't know, we talked about Image a lot. At least this was what I knew when I knew people who worked at Image. If you wanted to get the book made and you pitched it and they said yes, they didn't even solicit it until you had 3 issues completed. And so that's the rule that I went through when pitching this book, is we didn't pitch it until we could have as much ready to go as possible. So issue 1 was done when we pitched it to Invader Comics. And then we worked on issues 2 through 4, in the interim. But we're ready to go. You're not going to see any delays on that point. Invader's doing well. The book's selling well enough in pre-orders that shops are still buying it, so you're not going to see it disappear. But if you want to see it at your shop, because we're a smaller label, because Invader is a smaller publisher, you have to ask for it. So make sure you're telling them you want the weird book about Indiana Jones or whatever. I believe that's the specific title if you look it up in Lunar. The weird book that has Indiana Jones.
That, yeah.
Yeah.
And make sure you buy 2 because you need the variant cover. And then also when the trade comes out, come on, you're not going to get trade.
Exactly.
All that cool back stuff that he's going to put.
Again, you're going to be like, this dude's lame. I don't want to read anything he's written. Sam's artwork alone, so good. And listen, you're never going to hear of me again. The Digger's going to do fine. Sam's going to be doing work at Marvel next year. He's going to be Scotty Young, 2.0. He's going to be doing covers for everybody. His artwork is so good, and he's never going to slum it again with me. So this is your one chance to get in on the ground floor of Sam Gudelin. So even if you don't like me, go and buy the book just for his artwork, because it's so incredible. And I get so lucky. He'll thank me for the script. He's like, yeah, this is good. I really, really like it. And I'm like, no, thank you for, slumming it with me before you get your big DC Comics check. I appreciate it so much.
Well, there you go, everybody. And normally I would ask where they could find you online, but you already told them all that. So I'm just going to say thanks, man, for having this conversation. Nice hour-long conversation. I had a blast, and
Thanks,
hopefully
man.
people learned a few things, and hopefully people enjoyed us ranting about comics of the first half an hour.
I mean, what else are they tuning into a comic books podcast for, other than to hear two middle-aged white dudes talk about all the stuff that they don't know about in comics?
That's, I mean, I keep hoping I'm going to hit big on that theory, but we'll see.
Listen, this is one of my favorite podcasts to be on, and I listen to a crap ton of comic book podcasts. So if I can speak for everybody in your audience and say I love this show, and I'm so glad that you keep making it, and for some reason, dumb enough to have me on a second time. Like, I don't know, like, you sound so much smarter than that when I hear you talking about comic books, and then you're like, yeah, TS, come back on. I was like, this guy.
I appreciate you saying that, man. And listen, here's to the third time I ask you on.
Yeah, like hopefully when it's Ringo nominated, never an Eisner. It won't let
Ringo
me
nominated, we'll be announcing the Digger 2 Electric Boogaloo with a new artist, obviously, because
Because Sam's already he's doing World's Finest Volume 5. They don't want me on there again. Oh man, but I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you all for listening. See ya.